On Sunday, as Hurricane Gustav moves forward through the Gulf, the streets of New Orleans are nearly empty, except for police, military, and private security.
My name is Ricky. A lot of people know me as Agent Matthews. I'm with Black Hawk Protection Services, and I'm proud to be on board.
For the people without transportation, estimated by the city at 30,000, there was no shelter available.
This time this has been implemented into, so I don't know. When I came here, bus was here, but I guess it was full, and because they had at least 10 people sitting here when that bus pulled off.
We have, about 20 people here for Mass this morning. This is the only Mass that we have for this morning, and normally we would have about 500 people for this Mass, and the next one is about 800 to 1,000. There won't be a next one. So people have left. Most of them have left already.
Prisoners in the city jail were shipped upstate to Angola, the Louisiana State Penitentiary, a former slave plantation where it's estimated 90% of those currently incarcerated there will die behind its walls. Against a clear sky and an eerie quiet, as the Gulf Coast braces for Gustav, residents recall the devastation experienced after Hurricane Katrina, when the levees broke open, water rushed in, and 80% of the city's homes were damaged. At that point, tens of thousands of people were still in the city, many of them stranded in attics or on rooftops. As the world watched, the heartlessness and incompetence of the Bush administration policies were revealed.
Yeah, it's been hard. Running, bills and jobs ain't paying like they're supposed to. So it's been hard. Government ain't helping you like talking about it.
Oh, it's pretty slow. It's pretty slow. I still yet have relatives that's out of, I have a brother, that's two brothers that still yet haven't been able to come back because they were renters, and they have, and the price of the rent when they come back from the hurricane, it doubled, and they are fixed income, and they can't afford to come back.
There's been, for the last 20-something years, Republicans and Democrats, has been a systematic effort to say the government is bad and to downsize government and to privatize government. And so we get to the point that government is small and really unable to respond to major problems. And we've had thousands of churches, we've had hundreds of thousands of volunteers that have come help us, but they can't take the place of government.
New Orleans has already lost 200,000 residents since Katrina. Those that came back had to struggle to get help from the federal government. Now, after 3 years of hardship, residents are not sure they can go through it again.
If it do the damage like Katrina did, I'm going to just make my home somewhere else. I don't think I'm going to come back. I can't do it. I love the city of New Orleans, but I don't know. If it be bad like Katrina, I don't think I'm going to come back.
I don't know. I'll probably come back to visit. I don't know if I'm going to come back if it's like Katrina.
Katrina was not the so-called storm of the century, and it's likely that Gustav will not be either. The true disaster was crumbling infrastructure, the shocking lack of preparation, and government response that criminalized the people of New Orleans instead of protecting them.
One of my big concerns is that there seems to be more concern with protecting property than protecting our people.
It's very important that people understand that no matter how good this evacuation looks to you on television, there are serious errors, serious breakdowns, and the same communities that were left behind 3 years ago during Hurricane Katrina are the communities that are now falling through the cracks of the evacuation for Hurricane Gustav. For poor and working class people, for the working poor, for people of color, this evacuation is turning into a disaster, and it's unfolding from New Orleans all the way to Atlanta and probably beyond.
Unfortunately for poor New Orleanians, some of the strongest and safest housing no longer stands. Housing developments have become vacant lots, strewn with the former possessions of thousands of families.
In the last hurricane and in every hurricane, a lot of low-income people went to stay with family and friends that lived in public housing because those are the sturdiest structures in the community. And about 4,000 of those apartments have been destroyed since Katrina. And the government and private developers really took advantage of Katrina and used it as an opportunity to lock people out of their apartments, not to let them come back and to destroy it. And people are worried about that again right now.
Well, right now we're in a Iberville housing development. Right now this is one of the last ones still standing, because all the rest of them, they're tearing them down and stuff, you know. Poor people really ain't gonna have nowhere to go, you know. So I don't know if they plan on tearing this one down. I don't know if they're gonna let us back in. We just have to wait and see. But I know all the other developments, when they tore them down and everything, they should have at least made sure people had somewhere to stay, somewhere to live, you know. That's the people, you know, they used to live in there all their lives and stuff. And now they're tearing them down and things, so where are they putting the people? Where the people going? Mm-hmm. And now this hurricane season, I think a lot of people ain't gonna come back.
We've been tracking people who got in front of the Greyhound line, got on buses and left. We have about 150 contacts on buses spread out and going from shelter to shelter. We got a call last night from a father of two who was traveling in a car with his mother and his younger son. He called at about 10:30 p.m. to tell us that he had been turned away from 5 shelters in a row and was told to go to the 6th one. He didn't have enough gas to know whether he would reach the 6th shelter.
Well, it definitely feels like it's a smoother evacuation process. I think what's going to remain to be seen is what happens for folks over the next few days. I mean, just getting them out is one thing, but where are they going to go? How are they going to get housed, fed? What conditions are they going to encounter once they're out? And then, of course, how are people going to get back in? I think it's going to be a huge issue.
It's very important that as shelters open up, as homes open up, as churches open up for poor and working class, particularly African American residents of New Orleans, that a conversation also opens up about their right to return. We cannot have another Katrina where families from New Orleans are spread out across the United States with no path back to the city they love. That's what we all need to work on now and in the next week.
In New Orleans, there is much apprehension about what Gustav may bring, but there is a deeper fear of what the federal government will not bring: safe levees and other infrastructure, rebuilding help, and the real security that comes from strong communities. For Democracy Now! In New Orleans, this is Jordan Flaherty and Lily Keber.